Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro,
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrew.
Back as always, I'm here, I'm ready to go. We got the full house again.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to sign myself off this week.
We've got Jan back. We've upgraded. We've upgraded that fourth spot. I think it would be fair to say now by having Jan back, so that's good news. And Maddie getting cut off was probably the highlight of the entire episode.
I think it was pretty great.
Yeah, it was funny. I like how we got some comments as well. That was good. So yeah, this is it. We're back to the normal kind of routine after Friday's special. Go check that out if you haven't already. It was great to have Fab on. Got some good insight on, what he thinks of the way the club's going, transfer business, renewals, what we're going to do with the loanees, other targets. That made a bold call about Donnarumma, which I know Maddie was very happy about. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't already. But in the meantime, we've got two games to recap, a defeat and a win, game to preview, and we got plenty of cracking questions. So let's get right into it. Lukaku's a donkey.
Yeah, he is. He's a little donkey, and he does some voodoo shit. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Apparently he's a gunman too, but nobody seems to care about that. So.
Well, now it's come out that apparently he said he was going to shit on his head and not shoot him in the head. I don't know.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, it's not great either way.
If I was accused of one or the other, I would claim shoot because that's significantly tougher than defecating on someone. That's weird.
Yeah, and he's not going to be able to do it. Like, logistically, it would be a nightmare. He'd have to have
he's not even tall enough.
Punched over in some way.
Unless that would be some kinky voodoo shit.
Yeah, that's...
Unless he has a voodoo doll of Ibra, he's just going to take a shit on the voodoo doll.
I do, I think we need to recap the game before we can go off about that particular incident, but the two are kind of intrinsically linked. What I'll say is, I think for 43 minutes, we were actually in control in our own way. Yes, we were allowing Inter to dominate possession. They weren't really having any clear opportunities. We did what we do so well, and that is when we get the ball, we use it and we get it into dangerous positions pretty quickly. Now, obviously, so much has come out about the penalties, and we'll come on to what happened in the Bologna game, but so much of it is because we get the ball into dangerous places. That's why we win so many penalties. Ibra got that half a yard shot in off the post. Fantastic. I really thought at that point it would knock the confidence out of Inter, and it seemed to do that. I felt like up until the brawl, which we'll discuss in a second, we were doing all right. I think we might have actually gone on to win that game 1-0, or, even got a second as Inter were pushing for the equaliser. But it didn't happen that way because basically the referee's a dickhead.
He had
about it.
He had a very typical terrible game. And I would argue we were even better after the brawl. Granted, there wasn't much time between the start of the second half and Ibra's sending off. But, I mean, we were better in that as well. I think they did hurt their confidence, and they were fired up, and that doesn't always play into your favor. And I think the referee just took every opportunity. Is like, okay, things are getting heated. I need to start throwing some discipline around and be carded Ibra for some small stuff that, to be honest, didn't even look like a foul to me. It looked like he more ran into Brahim Diaz.
The foul was Brahim Diaz, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I think we should go through the key incidents rather than, get jumbled up. So before the break, it all stemmed from a foul by Romagnoli, which people don't really realise. And Lukaku got up and he wouldn't let it go. He kept going after Romagnoli and saying stuff. And that's where Ibra stepped in.
And he slapped the Salamakers as well.
Yeah, again, people. I mean, that in itself, it wasn't a clap. It was a playful sort of swat. That's fine, but it's a yellow card. He still raised his hand. For me, I think Lukaku did enough in this incident to be sent off twice because he did that, and there was the initial verbal slanging match with Romagnoli. Fine. Ibra comes over and I seen Inter fans saying that Ibra put his head into Lukaku's. That wasn't, Lukaku was the one who absolutely instigated it by going over and getting right in his face. And if anything, Ibra put his head down as if to say, I don't want to be involved in this, The verbals are verbals. I think both players did enough to earn a yellow for that. But again, I'd give Lukaku something for the head-on-head contact. But then the thing for me was that Ibra was the one who was the bigger man, and he was willing to let it go. He actually said, and I wouldn't say this is a threat. I would say this is his grown man shit, where he's like, let's sort it in the tunnel. Let's take the ugly scene off the pitch, and we can discuss it in the tunnel. But Lukaku just wouldn't have it. I think Inter's players were actually shocked at how riled up he was. He was rattled by what Ibra said, and I think it needs clarifying at this point that it is shocking how the media are basically in their own way. That none of the media outlets, apart from one, have come out and said what Ibra said was racist. But what they're all doing subliminally is planting that thought in people's head by saying, "Was Ibra racist?" And he wasn't. If you know the background and the context of the incident, where he's referring to a particular transfer saga where Lukaku was going to sign permanently for Everton, and then his mother allegedly advised him not to because she'd been on a trip
it was
in
signing
Africa.
A contract extension, right? It was before he went to United.
Yeah, and it was something to do with Chelsea. His mother told him to go to Chelsea.
To go back to Chelsea, I think he was on loan at Everton at the time.
That was it, yeah. He was going to sign permanently for Everton, I'm fairly sure. And then he didn't. He ended up going back to Chelsea. And
this was in 2018, before he went to United.
Yeah, this
sold
was
him to United for 100
because Chelsea was going to buy him back from Everton.
Right.
And
all right.
That's where the thing with
regardless, that's not the big.
No,
the big deal.
I think
that's a little small thing.
So I don't think Lukaku's lawyers are going to come after us, but I don't want to get in trouble. It is alleged, and Moshiri was known as Everton's owner at the time for coming out and saying some interesting inflammatory stuff in the media. Lukaku denied that was the case, and he said it was purely a sporting decision rather than actual witchcraft, which is reassuring. But then he took offence to it. There must be some truth to it if he reacted the way that he did.
And let's not pretend like they weren't teammates at United, and obviously have discussed personal matters with each other, and that had to have come up, or else Zlatan wouldn't have mentioned anything of it. Zlatan's had plenty of inflammatory bullshit said about him, so to bring it up, you have to know some sort of truth behind it.
You have to.
I agree, and with the donkey thing where Ibra's called Lukaku a donkey, it all stems from a friendly bet that they had when they were at United together, where Ibra said, for every good first touch that you do, I'll give you 50 quid or 500 quid. I can't remember the exact figures. I suppose, because he told him that he had the first touch of a donkey. So, I mean, everything, it kind of had a background to it. And just the way that Lukaku reacted were ridiculous. I said on Twitter, I've never seen a footballer react the way that Lukaku did and stay on the pitch.
I think it's because he received so much slander for his performances at United, and including this bet from his teammates, to then go to Inter and succeed. And now people are hailing him as one of the top 10 strikers in the world right now. And to have that incredible first derby against us, but then that nasty one at the beginning of the season, and then this one that seemed to be going the same way. And now Zlatan's throwing those same old digs at him that clearly bothered him when he was at United. And it was just a mental breakdown, kind of like Higuain at when we played Juventus with him that year.
God, yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing, except in that situation, Higuain got sent off, and I would argue he did less than what Lukaku did.
He should have walked 100%. And
I mean, you could put an argument for Ibra potentially being sent off at half time for the way that he was provoking him. I understand him getting a yellow, and then the second yellow was very soft, but you could put a case together for Ibra going himself. I think we could have started the second half 10 versus 10. It'd still been a totally different game.
Ibra also just walked off the field when Lukaku was actively trying to.
But he was antagonizing it. He knew what he was doing. He was.
He knew exactly.
But I think
if we started second half 10-10, I would have been okay with it. I would understand the justification. Both of them were sent off. But
on the football pitch.
And by the way, to go back to that thing where he claims he didn't say he would shoot him in the head. Did you see his goal celebrations yesterday? He made gun signs after each goal. What is that alluding to? Like,
I thought you
that
weren't
has to
allowed
mean
to do
something.
that because someone did a
Sterling.
machine gun thing and got sent off for it, didn't they?
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
Sterling did
the
some
straight,
Sterling
like,
thing was different because someone said he had a gun tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got.
But
which is,
did he
by
get
the way, gun tattoos aren't illegal. Like, people have them.
You have a gun tattoo?
They're fine, but I think that insinuating violence with your celebration is probably not in the spirit of the game. But yeah, in that particular case, I think there's a difference on a football pitch between words and actions. And the referee acknowledged that they were both jawing at each other with some pretty personal stuff. You know, Lukaku saying he'd F his wife and all that kind of stuff. That's not ideal. You don't want to hear it, but probably the absence of crowds means that you're picking up more and more of these discussions between players every single game. But the difference was the actions, and that was Ibra walking off the field while Lukaku had to be held back by 3 teammates because he was going after him. That for me is he should have gone. Both of them maybe could have gone, but he should have gone definitely. And then, you know, what happened early in the second half, I don't think it was a foul for me at all. I think it was actually Brahim Diaz. It was knee-on-knee contact with Kolarov, and Kolarov knew what he was doing, though, I think, as well.
I do think, however, if there wasn't the mix-up prior, Ibra probably wouldn't have been so aggressive to try and win that ball back because he did just lose it right then and there. So that might have played a little bit into it, but
It wasn't what happened at half time. I don't even think Ibra gets a yellow card at all for the challenge that he makes in the second half. It wasn't even a yellow card challenge. The thing with Valeri is he always manages to find a way to screw us over. He has done for years, and the officiating in Serie A is just getting worse and worse as we're seeing as weeks go on.
He's like the Italian Mike Dean, because all the headlines in a big game have to be about him.
Yep.
And it's just happened again, you know. It's funny when you see, like, I don't know, Irati or Daveri, who wasn't too bad actually, but you see those referees and you think, oh, not them again. But it's kind of tongue in cheek because you think a referee can't ruin a game for us. You know, if we lose, that's on us, blah, blah, blah. But with Valeri, it really is the case that he can influence the outcome of a game. That's exactly what happened, because for me, the penalty was no penalty. And I know that there are certain angles where it looks like there is a little bit of contact between Leao, who shouldn't have made that challenge. You know, he shouldn't really slide like that. That was perhaps a bit naive. But Barella absolutely makes the most of it, 100%. Not only that, but the reason that it wasn't a penalty for me is because the on-field call was no penalty. So there had to be, by the letter of the law of VAR, clear and obvious evidence to overturn the original decision. And for me, there wasn't. He looked at 5 angles. He then walked away from the screen and walked back to look at it one more time. And then he went back and gave the penalty. You have to look at something over and over again. Probably not a penalty. There is such minimal, if any. I mean, to me, it looks like Barella actually jumps over Leao's foot. So
I don't think
he was also falling before he.
Yeah, I don't think Barella was diving. I think it was a bit of a carbon copy of when Leao got when he jumped in the Torino game, where the slide tackle comes in and he jumps and he gets booked for diving when really saving himself from a leg break. If Leao had made contact with Barella, don't get me wrong, it would have been a stonewall penalty and it could have been a nasty injury for Barella. But I do think it was out of order. And the way that Inter manipulated the decision by kicking the ball out of the play, I mean, I think a minute and a half had gone by before it even checked the VAR.
That's disgusting. I just think that is just blatant. I don't know if you call it bad sportsmanship or what, but you're putting pressure on the referee there by kicking the ball out of play and saying, well, we've kicked it out now. You've got to go and have a look at it.
And I've noticed that happening more and more this season with the teams kicking stuff out and waiting for it. Because they're starting to realize what they could get away with, and that's something they can pull.
And I know, like, the flip side for this has been Inter fans saying all over social media, yeah, but if that was Milan, you'd want a penalty. If that was Milan, you'd want your team to do the same thing. I actually wouldn't, because I'm sick of the headlines being about us for the wrong reasons. You know, I'd rather us win a game without controversy, to be totally honest. You know, and I wouldn't be happy if we kicked the ball out because we thought we were going to get a penalty by VAR. You play until a natural stoppage in play. Because who knows, Inter might have gone on and scored, or you just don't know, do you? And I just think the whole game was riddled with incidents that made me incredibly infuriated. I actually punched my sofa at one point.
So
yeah,
I'm going to disagree with that, but only partially, because on first glance, you're watching it go live. If he would have called a penalty right then and there, I'd have been like, yeah, Leao messed up. That's a penalty, because it looked like it live. But since he didn't, it goes to what you said about the laws of the book, not clear enough to overturn it. But once, say he did call it, I would want the team to be like, or I would obviously want them to look at it, you know. But at that point, then I think you'd be like, actually, there's no contact. You should overturn this. But on the flip side of that, if he didn't call it and it was my team and I saw it live, I would absolutely want him to kick it out, because live, it did look like a penalty. And I would have been like, yo, we need that. Like, that's the rules. I don't care if other fan bases are mad that we have 14 penalties in 20 games. Make it 30 penalties in 20 games. If they're allowed, or if they're legit, they're legit.
But it doesn't matter, does it? Because play's gonna stop eventually. You know, it might have stopped naturally 30 seconds after them kicking the ball out. That's what I don't get.
A time limit?
Not as far as I know. They're meant to just review it at the next available stoppage.
I think the assistant was in a good enough position to help the referee out and say, whoa, that's a penalty. It does need reviewing. Like, he was in a good position to be like, no. Otherwise, the assistant had been waving his flag like crazy, but like, no, that is a penalty, and that's what they're there for too. So it was just a piece of bad officiating.
Yeah, I mean, in live game, that looked like a penalty. I thought it was a penalty 100%. And then until I saw it in slow motion, I was like, oh, that's not a penalty. But the ref looked at it for like maybe 5 seconds.
It looked worse in live, and with the assistant well placed, the referee sort of well placed. The fact that they didn't think it was a penalty and they saw it live, the way that Leao slid in, I just can't understand why it then got overturned. And then with a slow down replay, you can clearly see that he doesn't actually
also pisses me off, because football is not played in slow motion. Why they keep looking at these slow-mo replays to determine contact and to determine force is absolutely ridiculous, because it makes everything look worse. Everything. Handballs, I would even go so far as to say the same, because it doesn't take into account any of the split-second nature of what football is. It's like it's been officiated by people who've never played the game, which in some cases
typically
it really
what it is. But let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. So he goes in, he doesn't make contact. When a defender's sliding in on you and you're the attacker, you got the ball, you're in the box, you don't want to go down, right? Like you want to try and score it. So you stop, you cut back, do whatever Barella is doing. And then in that motion, that causes him to slip. Now, is that slip still in turn not caused by the challenge by Leao? I mean, yeah, there's no contact, but he doesn't fall if that challenge isn't there. He's still in on goal.
No, I think he was slipping.
I think
I didn't think he was slipping until the challenge went in. I think he tried to stop because of the challenge, and that's what caused him to go down.
You can't call a penalty on like your reflexes when you see a player by you.
But it's denying a goal scoring opportunity, is it not?
Yeah, but not if he touched him.
He had left the ball behind him. It must be said. He had to check back because the ball was over there. But Leao was nowhere near the ball. Like, yes, okay. Bottom line, I do think it was a naive bit of play from Leao to go sliding like that. But I don't think I thought it was a very harsh penalty. The thing that pisses me off, again, if it had been given a penalty, I'd say there's probably enough there for it to be upheld. But the fact it was given no penalty,
right? And I agree with that.
Was looked at several times.
If it's not caught on the field, it is what it is. But
I agree with that. I don't blame Barella for. Yeah, it was Valeri. The ref. Yeah, it was.
He went off shortly after injured, didn't he? And then
yeah.
And then the guy who came on, who's Shifty or something like that. I can't remember the fourth official's name who came on to be the referee.
Oh, that was fantastic when he got injured.
I actually missed the second half.
I celebrated him doing his hamstring.
Turned the TV back on because I had a work meeting just to see all the Inter players in a circle dancing around celebrating on Gasparini, and I'm like, oh, I guess the game's over. And I saw there was 10 added minutes because of a referee injury.
Which was
ridiculous.
Quite funny. But another thing I want to say, and this isn't on Valeri because he didn't make the decision, it wasn't a free kick for the winning goal either.
No, it was not.
He kicks Lautaro kicks the back of his own boot, and again,
honestly, it sucks that we lost, but that is just one less game that we have to worry about.
Two less against Juve. We wouldn't have beaten Juve. I know people might say, well, we gave them a good game without
Not beating them
without
over 2
most
legs.
of our 11, but we over 2 legs in the Coppa history shows, or any game in the Coppa.
I think we would have. I mean, if you look at the last semi-final against them, I'd say we were the better team over 2 legs, but again, 2 questionable calls were the downfall of it. And Teo in the first leg, was it, that got sent off?
Yeah, he's got a red, and there was that bullshit penalty.
So
the Calabria one,
point blank from behind him. Like, come on.
Yeah,
I think we could have beat them.
I suppose
I do think it's doable, but I don't think
it's
worth it. You know, like, obviously you want to play for every trophy you're Milan, but looking at the bigger picture, going into the next derby, which is the most important game of the season thus far, having Inter have to play 2 games against Juve right before us, plus 2 other teams that are higher than who we're going to be playing, I think it's a blessing for us. I think it's silver lining. Like, I would have loved to have fought Juve and won, but A, I don't think it's the most likely situation, and B, I'd much rather beat Inter again in the league.
Agreed. If that's what ends up happening, then absolutely it will have worked out.
Right. If we shit the bed, then I'll be salty and I'll complain.
You've got to remember, either side of that Inter game, we've got a tricky. I say tricky.
Europa League tie.
Yeah, I mean, Red Star. I know it's the Serbian league, but have you seen them?
I don't believe we played them before the Inter game. I think we
play them on the Thursday. Yeah.
Before and after.
Inter have actually got like a full week's rest before they play us, whereas we've got Red Star
3 days
and then Roma.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the schedule's better for them then. What the hell? When did that? I could have sworn it was different. I thought we played Red Star on the 4th for some reason.
For the free kick that Inter scored, I think you could make an argument that could have gone to VAR, because for me it was a clear and obvious error that led to an important goal-scoring opportunity, and it wasn't a free kick. Like, if you go back and replay that, you can see clearly that there's no contact there.
I didn't know, though, until that incident yesterday where Lapadula got barged over by Skriniar, was it? That if the incident's outside the box, they can't go to VAR.
Well,
for the free kick.
I didn't know that.
That's why they couldn't review it for the Lapadula one, because they determined it was outside the box. What they can review it for is for potential red card offences, obviously. That's the only thing they can review for outside the box. Another daft rule of VAR, you know, if you're going to govern the game, then at least do it all. But
if they would have given a red card, we would have been fine, because then they would have overturned it and there would have been no free kick.
Yeah, ref should have done that. It was a great free kick, don't get me wrong. You know, it just pisses me off that it was Ericsson, because obviously he's had a nightmare of a season and now that's another stick to beat us with. But I don't really, I think both sets of fans were kind of like, what happens, you know, we're both going to rotate a little bit. It's not even 1/10 as important as the league game that's coming next month. Or maybe a 5th, I don't know, whatever. So that's where the real chips are on the table, you know. So looking forward to that, I guess.
Just a shout out to Tata Rashanu. We played brilliantly that game. Like, my only maybe one bit of criticism was the fact that he didn't make an effort for Ericsson's free kick. I feel like if Gigio were in net, he'd have at least died for it. Do you know what? It was a perfect free kick, don't get me wrong, but there could have been some effort made to it.
It was savable, though. I mean, I think Gigio probably could have saved it, but he definitely would have tried.
Nice height.
Yeah.
I didn't really... I don't like to overanalyze free kicks too much, but I think when you're the goalkeeper and the free kick is sort of central but more over towards one side, you obviously line your wall up in line with the near post, and then you choose if you have a 3-man wall, 4-man wall, whatever. You know that if Ericsson's taking that, which he was so clearly he's going to hit it right-footed and it's going to curl outwards towards the top corner. So you should probably put your taller players towards that side of the wall so they can hopefully block it in case it goes up and over.
Yeah, I think the lot were just an inch off, it looked like on the replay.
Yeah.
I think it would a lot.
But then if you're Tata Rashanu, you're covering your far side, which is fine. But I'm saying you're not going to beat me on that side, to be honest. So I'd be standing more towards the middle of the goal. And as you say, I know he sees it late because it is a good free kick. But yeah, I think if he stood a bit more towards the centre of the goal, he probably makes an effort. And he maybe saves it because he was possessed at that point, was Tata Rashanu. So I feel it's a shame that he was on the losing side of that. But he's been really good since that Roma era, to be honest. So fair play. We've got a dependable backup, which I always thought he would be. I remember saying to you that Roma error might be the only one he makes for us. And who knows, it could well be. So yeah, we're out of the cup for another year. We still haven't won it since 2004, but maybe next year. So from a defeat in the cup to a win in the league, and we needed this one after the defeat against Atalanta, and then obviously the midweek defeat against Inter, Bologna. Now, it's not like a tricky place to go. We haven't lost there since 2002 at their stadium. We've got a good record against them. We won prior to the game. We'd won 26 out of our last 33. So those were promising stats. Bologna just seemed to be a team that we do well against. Since Mihajlovic has gone there, we've done pretty well against them. If you remember, we won there 3-2 last season in a pretty thrilling game, and it was when we were really, really rubbish. And Piontek scored a penalty, Teo scored a nice goal. I think Bonaventura got the third one. And then we stuffed them towards the end of the season. But I was a tad worried about the game yesterday, because of the hangover effect of 2 defeats. And even though the players might say they're not distracted by the media, they'll know that there were some doubts, perhaps, especially given that we had the difficulty going on with the playmaker position, because both Çalhanoğlu and Brahim Diaz were out injured. There were some doubts about who'd start in holding midfield. Kier went off injured in the cup game. So we can never go into a game, it seems, without some kind of drama hanging over us. And that's why I was happy that it is one of those games against a team that are probably going to be fighting for survival the way things are heading this season. They've won 1 out of the last 11 games or something. They're struggling a bit, but they're scrapping. It was just one of them where if we can get a win, just get out and that's it. Then we can focus on having what will it be, 9 days rest before we play Crotone at home now, which again is another fixture that if we're serious we've got to be looking at winning. So it wasn't a glamorous performance, but it was all right, I suppose.
I didn't think it was a bad performance at all. I mean, there was a little drop off, obviously the final 10 minutes, that's when shit got a little shaky, but I thought we dominated the entire first half, and I thought we started a little bit weaker in the second half, but still strong. And at no point did I think we were in danger until they got the one goal in the 81st or 82nd minute, and then we kind of collapsed from there. But I mean, if you told me last season that we were going to play 9 bad minutes in a game against the lower side, I'd be fine with that.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about them scoring when they did was that they already had more attackers on the field. Like, 'cause they were 2 goals down, they decided to throw on 2 forwards.
Right.
It meant that when they scored, they were still going to be on the front foot because they had so many forward players on. Sorry, Joe.
I thought we looked average, to be fair, against them. I really did. I don't think it's a bad thing, because I don't think we got out of a gear, really. Like, we just looked pretty relaxed and we didn't break a sweat to win. But I thought the way that we lost the Inter game, the fact that we've lost to Atalanta, we'd lost to Juve recently, I thought this was the perfect game to go out and show everyone that we are serious title challengers by knocking 4 or 5 past them. That's the way that I actually saw it going. A bit like when we did it at the end of last season where we won 5-1. I just thought we're going to go out, and it was a bit underwhelming, to be honest, I thought.
Well, we did get close. I mean, in the opening stanza there, Ibra had the one shot that was deflected, and he had the follow-up that was a great save, honestly, that most keepers are letting in. So I get what you're saying, but I do think we had more scoring opportunities than the scorelets on. Like, I don't know what the XG was on this, but I feel like it was probably 3 or 4.
Should have been more. Yeah, no. Calabria's header that he should have taken a touch and thumped. And then he also had that.
Long shots.
I will say, before we scored, Skorupski was having one of those.
Oh, that was
games.
Man of the match, even though they lost.
Who's the guy? Is it Consigli or someone who always has an amazing game against us? I thought he was channeling his inner Consigli, but he made a couple of really good reaction saves. He actually made a really good save to deny Calabria with a shot that was going, from just outside the box. It was going right inside the far corner, and he made a great full stretch.
I do want to bitch about that a little bit, because ever since he scored that goal against Juve, he's tried that shot in every single game. And it's just like Kessié, his first season. He scored that one, even though it was called off. And then every game, as soon as he got the ball, it'd shoot from 50 yards out, and it never went in. And
I don't mind, though, because at least Calabria hits the target most of the time.
Yeah, and he's getting close, too.
His shots are kind of selective.
Upper stands.
Yeah, but would you rather a right back take an outside the box shot that almost goes in, or would you rather him just do his fucking job and pass the ball to someone whose job is to shoot?
Yeah, or he can shoot, it can get deflected, and the strikers can do their job and poke it in the net.
Well,
But he
interestingly,
shoots before the strikers are fast enough to get there. Ibra's slow.
the one thing I was
Fair.
saying about Skorupski during the game is that he was making some excellent shots, but his hands were almost too hard because every time he made a save, he parried it almost straight into the path of our attacker every time. I mean, Calabria missed a rebound from a Leao shot that he got, and then there was the Calabria shot that nearly got tipped straight into the path of Leao, and then there was the penalty rebound. So yeah, he was almost unlucky in that sense, but yeah, I think Alex, you would have been.
The weird thing is the penalty rebound, I think, was the hardest save, or the easiest save of all of them.
Yeah,
that he did save.
That's it. Zlatan off penalties now.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Keep him
Because
on
he always
because we
goes
keep
bottom
deflecting him in.
left. Well, I mean, if
And
he's
his
not
penalty
going
this
left-
game, it looked slow. Like it looked like he was just trying to tap it in. Normally, he just fires them in there.
Yeah, he normally just like bombs it bottom left, and I think so. He's tried to change it twice. One was a skyrocket, welcome to SpaceX, and the other one was this one today that was a little slow. And I think maybe he was just overthinking it. Like, I'm gonna do what I do, but I'm gonna go slower, and it'll be behind the keeper or something. I don't know, but
he did put one
odd.
top right. I'll give him that.
That's
he
true.
did put one. He's has he taken 10 this season in all competitions? Scored 5, missed 5. You can't have a 50%. I'll tell you who's the best penalty taker on that team.
To be fair, it's kind of 70% because he got one deflection center plus this Rebic one. So I mean, they're still getting in on the penalty.
7 out of 10 went in the end. I will say Rebic hasn't actually had a load of credit really for his goal, but fantastic anticipation, I guess. I know that you follow in naturally as a forward when there's a penalty, but they were checking VAR to see if he'd stepped inside the box just before the penalty was taken, and he didn't. He timed his run perfectly into the box. And then also, he could have tried to blast it, as you would want to do when you've run onto a ball like that. But he didn't. He opened his body and beat Scudetto, who was still down to his left side, really, so his right side. So I think he deserves some credit for that finish.
I think he needed that goal. I think that's going to be the bit now that just propels him on for the rest of the season.
I hope so. He needs it.
I don't think he had a bad game. I've seen people again slate him for his dribbling and stuff, but I don't think it was as bad as it's been. And also, I think there's a decent percentage of what Rebic does that is when he doesn't have the ball at all.
Yeah, again, it's just using certain players as scapegoats, isn't it, to justify your agenda for someone else. So, like, everyone likes Leao on the left, so any chance that they get to say that Rebic is having a stinker and Leao should be playing there or Haug should be playing there, it just, like... It makes some, it makes the same on. We're seeing it with Calabria. I think we're seeing it with Tonali to a certain extent. Even Romagnoli a bit. Like some players are being used as scapegoats, just to fuel agendas of other players. And it's just
it's turned into like intra-squad player battles, and I don't like that. You should just always roll with whoever's doing the best at that moment.
Well, I think the thing is, every goal is usually a team effort. Whether it's against us or for us, like. Everyone plays their role. You could argue like, the Romagnoli may have missed the block that it went in and through, but it's like it got past the midfielders, it got past the strikers. Gigio didn't save. Like you can blame everyone if you want to. So the agendas are dumb, but everyone's gonna find one, and you could justify anything with anything.
I don't think there's any like if you don't like a player, you don't like a player. It is what it is. I used to hate Montalivo. Like I couldn't stand him. Yeah, like
I still do.
Ollie knows how much I hated him, but if he had a good game, I'd admit he'd have a good game, and I wouldn't be looking at.
You didn't have to do it very much, though.
No, I didn't. But you know what I mean. With some players, like even when they're having a good game, they could make one slight wrong pass, and then he's having a crap game. He's been horrendous. When really it was just one bad pass.
Yeah. I've been vocal about saying that I think Dalot, on the whole, has been underwhelming, in both left and right back position. What I will say is I think that his last 2 outings that he's had, it was Inter and Juve before that, wasn't it? And he did well. He kept Ronaldo quiet in the Juve game, and I think he had a pretty good outing at right back in his last game as well. So yeah, more than happy to hold my hands up and say that. Second penalty, Conte's knack for conceding penalties for ridiculous handballs. How bad was that from Sumaro? He nearly caught it.
He
Why
went to
were
catch
both
it.
of his hands like that? He was like a zombie. both reaching out like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're like out to your side and you're jumping like that, but these were just like
I don't know what
I don't know what was he doing. Yeah,
What I will
it's like
say
he was
is
going to spike
again,
it with volleyball or something.
yeah, something that went under the radar. Ibra, excellent movement. He knew he had a man on him, and he just backpedaled to the far post, and that allowed the ball to come in, which was kind of aimless, but also was right on his head until it obviously got nearly caught off of his head. So, yeah, and then Kessier's penalty technique of just staring the keeper down until the last minute and then winning the psychological battle.
He got very lucky with that penalty, I thought.
Shit penalty.
He may as well just rolled it into the net. Very lucky that the keeper went the wrong way.
Sent him down, though, did he? He's done that twice now.
Mm.
So that was it. It was 3 points. It was 3 points. I mean, it was obviously going to happen that one of the former players scored against us. It just so happened to be Andrea Poli this time. It was a nice finish, actually, top corner. And that was it. They didn't really have too much after that.
No, I think they could have had. They had a few good chances, and Gigio pulled us out quite a bit.
I'm trying to think of the main one that there was. There was there was the two. He made 2 saves. The first one, Sansone, when he got put in behind, and he just hesitated on shooting, which narrowed the angle a bit, and Gigio saved with his right thigh. And then there was the one where Dominguez was in behind, and Gigio basically saved the one-on-one by. One thing I've noticed about Gigio in one-on-one situations, so many keepers are eager to go to ground now. He doesn't. He makes himself big and says, "Good luck getting this over me." And then like there's a Zapata one for Atalanta. Yeah, he just put it bottom corner because he knew that was where to beat him. But other players are just hitting it straight at him because he makes himself big. So yeah, that's it. Good 3 points. And then we got a game to wait. We'll record, won't we, before Crotone?
We
play Monday night.
No, we don't. We play Sunday morning.
We play on Sunday.
2 p.m. Sunday lunch for us.
7 a.m. for me. Can't wait. Yeah.
It was originally meant to be a Friday night game.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so we'll have to do a preview then.
Which, again, works something else, like the Inter are playing Friday night and we're playing Juventus on Tuesday, so that kind of works in our favour from a resting point of view.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Inter have some tough games coming up.
I believe they're playing
Fiorentina.
They played Benevento last night, and then they're playing 13 and 14th, plus the 2 Juve games. Then we play 15th and 20th or something.
Juve next, then they've got Fiorentina, then they've got Juve, then they've got Lazio, then they've got us.
Mm-hmm.
And Juve have got some tough games coming up. They've got Roma and Napoli coming up.
When is their game with Napoli, from the first half of the season?
It's been postponed again because it was supposed to be recently, but then they had their other game.
So
there was another game I can't remember, but there was one of them had to play a game, and that's why it got postponed again. So
Crotone are awful.
Yeah,
bottom of the league with the most goals conceded by 8. They've conceded 8 more than any other team. They don't seem to be as bad about scoring goals, but they are struggling. I mean, they didn't win a game for the first 10 rounds of the season, and they got some hammerings in there as well. Genoa beat them 4-1 first game of the season, and they beat them 3-0 today, which probably says around about where they're at. But 3 games ago, Crotone beat Benevento 4-1. So, they seem to be a bit of a weird team. Didn't they? Have I got it wrong? I thought they'd sacked their manager, Crotone, but I don't know. They're not great.
Yeah, we're gonna fly through them. I know, John, you thought that this was the Bologna game was the 5-0. This is gonna be the 5-0. We get Hakan back.
I hope so.
We get Ibra, who's now goose egged in two straight league games, 3, I believe, and he's gonna.
You better start scoring because this next Inter game, I think he's gonna go off.
I hope.
I think we need it. I think we need the big result either. But in the next 2 games between Crotone and Spezia, it's got to be one of them where we just go all out and go for it.
Crotone have a midfielder called Mattia Mustacchio. That is absolutely fantastic. So he's going to score. I'll put my money on that. Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but again, if our objective is top 4, let alone potentially going on and winning the Scudetto, we have to win at a canter. Do I think we'll do that? I'm still not seeing enough from this team to suggest that we are ready to really put 4 or 5 past the team. You know, I watched Inter last night against Benevento, and I hate to say it, but like that was a good performance, a good, well-rounded performance, and that's how you dispatch of a team like that. So I will say we'll win 2-0.
I'll go 3-0.
I'll go 4-0. It maybe even 5. Like I look at the way that we were playing towards the end of last season, where we're better now than we are last season, and we were putting goals just constantly past people. I just don't think we're getting out of first gear yet, because we don't need to at the minute. But I think it'll be the Crotone game where we do put 4 past them.
Well, if we need to start getting out of first gear, it's going to happen soon. So we better start.
I don't think we're really pushed to get out of first gear against the smaller sides. As long as we're up comfortably, then we're okay to just take those leads. But I think we really should try to make a statement, especially after Inter's Benevento thing, and knowing that if we don't win that Inter match, that head-to-head's going to become the most important thing, and they're above us now by a significant amount. So I believe they're up by 5 on us on goal difference. So I think we really try to pad these smaller sides now. I bet we do make those moves out of first gear.
Should we be worried about the fact that we seem to struggle to score more than 2 goals against anyone?
No.
Lazio, we
don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think when it comes to it, like the Lazio game showed that we can just keep going, and we'll always find a way through. So if 2 goals is enough, then we don't need to, but I'd like to see us do it, because it's what we were doing last year.
Well, and we did 3 against Napoli. Like, we could get the third goal when we need it, you know? And the Lazio game, I think, is a fantastic example. Yeah. 3 against Roma because we kept dropping points. 3 against Lazio because it was 2-2. And then the 3 against Napoli just because, you know? It's like...
we beat Spezia 3-0 as well at San Siro. Another game like that would be nice, where the Spezia game at San Siro, where we beat them 3-0 and really didn't get out of first gear. That would be nice, just to prove that we can do that, like Inter did last night, unfortunately.
We can, and then they were like 4-2 against Juventus. I keep bringing last season because it still feels like this one, especially with the squad that we've got, it's pretty similar. And we beat Bologna 5-1. So the goals are there. I just don't think we're wanting to do it at the minute. I just think we're more than happy to save energy.
Yeah. I just think we also haven't turned it on. Like, you guys have been saying we haven't gotten out of first gear, but we also haven't had to. I guess we've had to, because we've drawn 2-2 against a couple of teams. And that's why it would be nice to see us get out of first.
So I think we did get out of first gear in I believe it was the Parma game where it was 2-2.
I was just
that was the one that Zlatan goofed the pen. Then he had a goal called off because of a handball on him, and then he pulled it out in stoppage time. And Teo had a couple of stoppage time goals as well. So it's like when we're in that situation, we can get out of first gear. But just because you get out of first gear doesn't mean it guarantees you a third goal, you know. But we've seen it, and we fight for it. So when we need to, we can. But if we don't need to, we won't. And I think that's energy conservation.
I think these next 3 games are going to be vital for us, and I think that's where we're going to see the Scudetto race really take place. I think that's where we're going to come up trumps, because the first 4 games of the season we were 12 points clear, and then we had Inter were on I think it was 5, and Juve on 4/7 because of that Napoli mishap. So, and we got a 5-point lead on them. So if we can do that again, like both teams have got some hard games coming up, I think this is where we can really just sail off into the distance.
Keep saying as well, you're right. There is no, like last season when we had, it was Lazio, Roma, Juve, Napoli, 4 out of 5 games stretch in the season. We don't have that this season. Our hardest stretch is into Roma back-to-back. After that, it's spaced out among the other teams, and I think that will help us, touch wood, especially if we carry on like with Europa League campaign.
I'd be happy with 4 points out of that, just like in the return or the previous leg.
I think don't lose the return derby, so we get that head-to-head.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
It's another point. It's essentially a point.
Yeah. Inter are going to drop points to either Fiorentina or Lazio. I'm certain of it.
Lazio are flying.
Yeah, Juve are going to drop points to either Roma or Napoli, the way that I see it. So, and I don't see who's dropping points to Crotone or Spezia. So that could easily be another 3 points, another potential 6 points, 5 points, whatever, clear of them. And I think that's when we're like, no, the Scudetto is ours now. I think this is a period where it gets won.
One thing I will say is purely keep saying, let's take it one game at a time. And I know as fans, we can't help but jump ahead. But as long as the players are focusing on getting a win in that next game, I think that we'll be okay. You know, the bigger picture's there, but it's not.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
It reminds me a lot like Leicester under Ranieri when he was saying it is literally just one game at a time. As long as we get the win, then that's all that matters, because forget about what the team's doing around us. As long as we win every game, we've won the league. You know, so we've just got to go into every game thinking, let's get a win. And if anyone drops points, then it's a bonus.
The worry for me is we do get, 5 points clear, 6 points clear, and then the team starts to think, well, we've wrapped this up. And then they start letting off the gas, and then they start dropping. Then
I don't think it's a lot of time to let them do that, though.
I'd almost rather us have a fight for a long time.
I don't think it'll happen just because we've got players like Mandzukic coming in. I think that were such a key signing that won't let our head drops. But my only worry is that I want us to take the Europa League seriously, but if we do start getting that cushion in the league, we might rest up so we can try get further in the Europa League, and that could be a downfall for us, but I don't think it will.
As long as we're like 9 points clear, I don't mind if we, drop a game in order to advance in Europa. Because I do think it's important to at least hit like the semis in Europa. I think we could go the whole way, but
be nice.
Top 4 would be fine.
Right, question time. So we got a two-parter from Matt. I don't know why a little jingle.
Yeah, you're gonna start singing.
Time.
Two-part from Matt Robson. So first part is, I love Romagnoli and Calabria, but I think with their subpar performances yesterday compared to how amazingly Tomori played, we're potentially beginning to see a difference. That's more of a statement than a question, I suppose, but discuss.
I agree. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. I said I don't think Romagnoli is going to be cut out for the Champions League. I think he's a great centre-back. I do like him. I think he's got potential, but I don't think when you look at Tomori, who has had a bit of Champions League experience and stuff, you start to see the difference in quality between the two. And although having Tomori next to him might benefit him, I do think he'd get caught out quite a bit in the Champions League with Romagnoli.
Just speed.
Plus, Tomori is so much faster than both Romagnoli and
He's so fast.
Yeah, he is. He
that's
really is.
Huge. That'll help Teo continue to get forward because Tomori could sprint back and cover if he needs to. So
that's why
I think redeeming that option is so nice.
That's why I'd say I'm tempted, and I know that it would cause shit because Romagnoli's been so used to playing that left centre back role. But I'd be tempted to play Tomori on that left side and cover for Teo.
It'd be nice to see Kalulu right back, Tomori at centre back, Romagnoli partner him and Teo on the left, because then we could play such a high line and then literally just be pressing from the front, literally. And you know that one of the three of Teo, Tomori and Kalulu have got the pace to get back if the ball does get past.
Do we think Romagnoli could adapt to being the right centre back quick enough? No. He's been left centre back for so long.
He's left-footed. Mihajlovic brought him in just because he had a left foot and the potential that they saw in him.
Yeah. I also think we know what Romagnoli brings now, and that is, his strength is absolutely in Gattuso's style of 4-3-3, where, play 4-man defence and one of the centre-backs functions as almost a sweeper type, and that is not playing a high line, it's playing a deeper line, and that way you can't get done in behind from pace. But when we're trying to play a higher line as we do, he gets spun around too much, and that's the sad reality of it. But there are the same problems in isolation with pretty much all the centre-backs. But I think Tomori and Kalulu, if he gets more games at centre-back, those are the two that when Maldini talks about one-on-ones and how he looks for winning one-on-one duels, be that on foot, be that physically, whatever, I think that's what he means. That's the type of player that he's been wanting to bring in. He's one that, if it's last line of defence, we've got confidence in him to sprint back and make it. And we've seen Tomori's pace. He's the quickest player on our team now, I would say. It's just...
You think?
Teo's still faster.
I think they're on par.
It'd be interesting to clock because I know Tomori was Chelsea's fastest player, but then there's probably not anyone as fast as Teo at Chelsea, so it'd be interesting to compare the average high speed.
I don't know if I'd say Tomori is Chelsea's fastest either. I think Hudson-Odoi is real fast. I think Timo Werner's quick.
Hudson-Odoi lost a lot of pace when he had his Achilles injury, though. I think
that's true.
That's true, but he looked good. Well, I didn't see. They won today under Tuchel, but
yeah, but you see who scored? That's
well.
Piliqueta and Marcos Alonso.
The Alonso goal was beautiful.
You think though, if you bring Tuchel in and he fails to score against Wolves at home, who were rubbish this season.
What was the lineup? Did he start
beat Burnley 2-0 and it's two defenders who score? You think you're not actually fixing any problems there. But anyway, move on.
Romagnoli was brilliant though in the Inter game. I think I should add.
Yeah, he was.
Him and Tomori were excellent together, and they didn't really concede, unless you count the bullshit penalty and free kick. But yeah, whatever.
We've actually basically discussed the second part of Robson's question, so we'll move on. Greglin, this is on a similar thing. Tomori and Kier, based on their playing styles, look like the perfect pair. Basically asks if that could be, it for Romagnoli, and I still think the answer is no, you don't drop your captain. Well,
we haven't seen Tomori and Kier play together.
No.
So how can we say it's a good pairing at all?
No, he's saying on paper, looking at the characteristics. I wonder if he's referencing. I did an article earlier in the week, and it was Visi Football who compared like the per 90 stats for Tomori from last season. So yeah, and it actually looks like Kier and Tomori are our two best defenders in pretty much overall every statistic. But Romagnoli still has a role.
Yeah, you can't drop your captain.
No, you can't. I mean, you
Plus,
can.
Romagnoli missed a lot of games last season, beginning this season as well, didn't he? So, I mean, those stats are kind of skewed against him, I would say.
I quite like though that we have Romagnoli, Gabbia, two left-footed. Oh no, Gabbia's can play on the left side anyway, and then you've got Tomori and Kier on the other side.
I think Gabbia's got a hard time now to come back to. He's got to compete against Kalulu, Romagnoli, Kier, and now Tomori. He's going to find it hard to get back into the team, I think.
It does.
I will say it's nice not worrying whoever's starting though. It's not like when Isakio comes in and I'm like, well, there's a hole. Now I feel like okay, there's a wall each time, so it's nice.
Yeah, another question from Greg. Looking ahead to February, we've got Europa League games surrounding important league games against Inter and Roma. Do you see rotations being made in Europa and us prioritising the league?
I think we should be prioritising the league. I think Europa League will be important to be playing an extra competition, especially one that's European, if we want to do anything with Champions League.
I think the first game you put like a 2/3 strength squad, see what happens in the derby, and if we win it, then you could go all out in the second leg to win that, and then kind of rest against Roma if need be. But I think what matters the most is that derby result.
Same.
I think we've got enough in our second team to get us to the quarterfinals in the Europa League, and then we can assess where we are in the league. Because I think if you look at like the back four that you could play in the Europa League in Kalulu, Tomori, Gabbia, Delort, is strong enough to get us past Red Star and potentially wherever else in the round of 16. So I think until we get to the quarters, it then depends on what we start prioritising and where we are in the league.
Yeah, I think it depends on who we're playing in the league as well. Like if we have, a bottom half team, then we
could get like an Arsenal or something in the next round of the Europa League, and that might become a more difficult game.
Yeah, that's when it just does depend. I think we've got enough in our second string side to get past Red Star.
I was just looking and thinking, because we're away first, do you just go to Red Star, rotate a bit, try get a draw, and then just say we'll take care of business at San Siro in the second leg? Red Star are top of the league. Obviously, it's Serbian league, so say what you want about quality. They've won 17 out of 19 games. They've not lost. They've scored 51 and conceded 7.
It's a bit like
so they're pretty good.
They're pretty good in Serbian football, yeah. But name one other team in that league.
Partizan Belgrade.
Doesn't count.
I just know the derby.
Okay, name 2 other teams.
Yeah.
Vojvodina, because I've got the table up. Right, let's move on.
Like, what the hell?
Jay asks, what's wrong with Daniel Maldini? That's quite a funny question to start with. What's wrong with Daniel Maldini? Why does Pioli always go with Krunic every time?
I wanted to ask Fab this question, and I meant it, like why we are not seeing more of him, But
where would you bring him? Like the Bologna game, I know we're 2-0 up, but you aren't going to make an attacking sub at that point. So I think it was the right idea, as they were bringing on more forwards, to bulk out the midfield by bringing on Krunic.
But I don't think we really did. I mean, we've been using Krunic as like a more forward player anyways lately by throwing him on that left wing spot. I understand where the question's coming from, and I think Krunic is always, that's the one sub we make that downgrades our quality. Everyone else can hold the same level. Krunic will always hurt the level of the team, in my opinion.
Funny that
I think
it was Krunic who came on and not Mate, by the way. Do you think he's already?
I thought that was really odd, actually. And
already
I think that might just be
basically
more
lost.
What do you think? It's more just rest? I mean,
Maybe.
I think it's more just
he was set out a
resting.
lot.
I mean, at the time, there's 2 days left of the market, so it could have been one of them last-ditch attempts for Krunic, impress,
That's
or
true.
he's gone. Maybe one of them. But I think
he's
rest.
staying.
I
Yeah,
think he stays, but I just mean, like, I think it was more of a, let's just see where he's at. Do we need anyone else? Can he? It was just one of them. I think it was
Well,
harsh.
I don't know if I would have brought
game, though.
Mate on for that left wing spot either. Now, if we were switching to Adam, just take off an attacker and throw on a midfielder, which is what would make the most sense given the situation, then yes, Mate makes better sense than Krunic, but I don't think Maldini fits into that scenario for that game at all.
No. Right, we've got 5 questions left, so let's do them quick fire because I'm conscious of time. Wally asks 3 questions. I don't know why I call him Wally. Otavio or Talvin for the summer? I'll start by saying Talvin, but they're not the same player. Like Otavio plays attacking midfield, so I think he'd come in if we couldn't get a deal for Brahim Diaz. But Talvin, the priority, because the right wing's the priority.
Yeah, plus
Same.
we'll be free, so
Yeah.
go with Talvin.
Yeah, Otavio would be as well. To be fair, he's out of contract, but
I didn't know.
he's
Okay.
not.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah. Anyway, Marseille's Team Bus got ambushed by crazy fans. Do you think Talvin can burn his contract and sign for Milan? No, don't do it, because Rafael Leao will tell you that you might owe 16 million euros for breaking your contract.
Yeah, we could go on for a long time about that one.
We nearly did earlier, but that was weird.
Since we have
Church
3 minutes
spot,
left
weird.
of recording. The
Yeah.
answer is don't do it unless you're financially fine. I mean, Leao did it and he had no
does
money.
Leao
Talvin might be. He's
owe
27.
his team 60 million?
16. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 60. I was like, holy
I think it's
shit.
been appealed again. It's weird. And final question: where can I send my CV to apply for the clown position at your podcast? Maddie's already got that. Sorry. Lucas asks.
I was waiting for that.
Lucas asks, "Oh, I wonder if this is the ratings guy."
Yeah, that is.
I hope it is. Shout out, Lucas. Like you crack us
shout
up
out
with
Lucas.
these ratings. He's funny. Yeah, Maddie likes you a lot. He talks about you plenty. Salamakers just become our Lucas Vazquez, or can he improve? I know what he means, because Lucas Vazquez is playing right wing and right back for Real Madrid this season. If he can play both positions, then why not? Like, I'm a big believer that you don't have to typecast every player into one role and that's it. But I think he will become our backup right winger. That's my gut. Is that he's there, but we still see those instances where it's like, yeah, his technical quality isn't there for as hard as he works.
I do think we forget how young he is, though. He's only 21. Like, he has got so much room for improvement. So, and he's only been in Serie A for a year, when you think about it. So I think there is plenty of room for improvement. I do think he'll end up being second string to Tovin, but yeah.
Tovin will have his moments as well, because he's creative. So if we need to unlock a game, he could come on. Final question: who will be on top of the table for the Milan derby, and by how many points? I'm going to say us by 3.
Us. That means that we're gonna get it. That means I'm gonna say us by 5. I think that they're gonna lose a game between now and then.
I'll say us by 5 or 6.
Going into the game, who will be on
going
top?
into it. Okay, I was like, that doesn't add up at all. I think it'll be who do they play again? They play
Fiorentina.
Yo, we got less than a minute, boys.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the
Fiorentina
same.
and Lazio.
It's gonna be the same.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for listening, everybody. You know the stuff, like follow us on
Don't
social
have time
media,
for
like
Maddie
and
to sign
comment.
off, sorry.
Yeah. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. Adrian.
Torque45.
Edward _ Toth.
At UK_AC Milan.
Thank you very much
Thanks,
for
lads.
listening, everyone, and we'll catch you in a week's time.
Andrea Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!